This podcast is recorded on stolen and unceded Aboriginal land.
We acknowledge the First Nations and elders of this country and join their calls for justice. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
Oh, the Greens are horrible. The Greens are a nasty, horrible, racist, anti-Semitic party. And when you deal with them on pre-poll, they are just horrible people. I would happily take the Labor Party and, with all due respect, union thugs any day of the week compared to the Greens. They are horrible people. They are nasty. Yep. The things they were saying to Maggie Forrest in Ryan are just appalling. Things they were saying to Trevor Evans in Brisbane were just appalling. Because they don't believe that we have a right to express our views as conservatives, they try to deplatform us and don't accept that we do have that different view. And I think how the Greens campaign, it is the ugly side of politics in Australia. They steal signs all the time, they deface signs, they are a horrible political movement.
We're stuck with the hosts of Chapo Shithouse podcast.
Serious danger to Australia.
We kept Dutton out.
We did it, guys. We kept Dutton out. That's a Greens win. Greens win.
That's all right. That's what we set out to do, and we did it.
That was just like keep Dutton out and something else. I don't know. But the main thing is that we kept Dutton out. Dixon, that's a Greens win. Greens win wall to wall. Good night, everyone. Thanks for supporting the show.
Yeah. We got Labor to act as the next government. They will be acting as the next government of Australia. Greens win. Greens win. Greens win.
Pressure works.
Pressure works.
Oh, you got to laugh. How are you, Emerald? How are you, my dear comrade? What's going on? Tell me everything.
I'm very, very tired. I have a headache. It was a late night. Like, I'm obviously sad as well. But I'm still just kind of trying to make sense of everything. And when I was telling people last night that I was getting up to record the podcast in the morning, they're like, can you cancel that? Because it's like, what the fuck do you say at this point? But I'm going to do my best because I don't know what's happening really. I mean, we know some things that have happened, but yes, we'll get to it. But yeah, how are you, Tom? What were you doing last night?
I was on the booths yesterday. Lovely vibe in this beautiful seat of Fraser, which is a glimmer of hope that we could get to a bit later on. That was nice. Went to a party that was just down the road from my house that was kind of watching the results. A lot of love in the room there. Then had to go to the Williamstown Soccer Club in the western suburbs of Melbourne. A pre-existing gig, performed to a room full of people involved,
you did a gig
associated with the
last
soccer club.
night.
I know. The book was kicked in before they called the date. It was bizarre.
Wow.
I did fine.
This man's a professional, everyone. Book Tom Ballard.
But of course, I'm constantly checking my phone while waiting to go on stage and stuff. I say on stage, it was a function room with no lighting, no like official stage lighting whatsoever. It was like down LED lights. It was pretty bleak, but they were lovely people, and
that's awesome.
I got some laughs. I got away with it.
And how'd they vote?
Yeah, they're all in Jellybrand, and it's all very Labor out there, and they're all very happy. And Dutton had just lost his seat when I took the stage, so we all got to celebrate that and have a good time.
Okay.
I changed out of my Greens t-shirt before taking to the stage. Just need the distraction. And then I was leaving that party and I was texting other people at the Greens party going, what's the vibe? Are people still there? Have people gone home? And it seems like most people had sort of wrapped it up. Yeah.
What time was that?
I would have been leaving at about 10:30 kind of thing.
Yeah. See, this is the funny thing, right? Queensland, which as we said, we'll get to, like a pretty devastating result in Brisbane and Griffith. And yet Queensland Greens parties always just like good vibe. Everyone just kind of, being proud of each other and loving each other. And yeah, there were a couple of tears, quite maybe more than a couple of tears during Max and Stephen's speeches. But I don't know, it's always a good vibe. And I left maybe after midnight and it was still going off.
I'm still pumping. Well, thank you for doing this. Yes, today. I think it's good. I was really keen to see your face and see Mike and do this. I think it's important for us to do this show today because, I think there are a lot of people who love this show, who support the Greens movement, who are going to be feeling pretty shitty today. I think our job to sort of go through this, sum it up and work through our feelings, as messy as that might be, as there's still a lot of stuff that's unclear. I think that's important. As much fun as it was in 2022 doing the post-election show and the love and the joy that show represented, I think we need to do the dark, bizarro version of that today, kind of. Even though I will be making the case.
We're testing our range.
It could be way worse. It could be way worse. So we should keep that in mind.
Have we said that we're not an official Greens Party podcast?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
We're serious. I don't know. I just don't know if we remember to say that. It's probably maybe important to say that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we're not, and we're produced by Michael the Griffin. But yes, sorry, we have new patrons to thank as well.
Yes, thank you to Leanne, David, Emmanuel, Moonpoon69, Phoebe, Lokesh,
Nice.
Chilla, Dusty, Mark, Henry, Nanya, and Andy. We love you all. Thanks for supporting the show. Patreon.com/Serious Danger AU. This week, if you're a patron, you would have heard our episode with Leo Puglesi, the only good journalist who's 17 years old now. He's all grown up. And he had a chat to us about his thoughts on the media, the social media ban.
Yeah, this is Leo Puglesi now. Feel old yet?
Early 2010s kids will remember Leo Puglesi. Yes, so have a listen to that. It's a fantastic episode, and the Patreon will continue bringing you bonus content as we venture out into these new uncertain times under an Albanese, under the one government, the one party government that we'll be experiencing from 2025 onwards.
Albanese. That's right.
All right, so we thought we'd start with obviously the big picture, which is Labor fucking crushed it. It's pretty wild. It is a landslide, historic victory for the Australian Labor Party in 2025. At time of recording, and of course this has got a big asterisk. We know this episode will come out later today, but we're only going by the results that we can see. You've got 85 seats for the Australian Labor Party, including a 2.1% swing to them. That's on primary vote, which is pretty remarkable. 4% swing against the coalition. They have been reduced, according to the ABC at this stage, to 37 seats. 10 to the independents. The Greens are currently sitting on 0, according to this ABC tally here. But again, still lots of votes to be counted. 0 seats for One Nation. 0 seats for Trumpet of Patriots, which is a real shame too.
Oh, yeah. Again, just a colossal waste of money from Clive Palmer. The things we could have done. But anyway.
What do you think? I mean, so much talk, so much time spent, everyone wringing their hands, worrying what a minority Labor government would be. At the end of 2024, everyone, including Labor, and Jim Chalmers was really honest about this on the ABC last night, sort of said we were in all sorts of trouble, we were in a really bad way, we had to turn around. They clearly did, and now they have been delivered a thumping historic majority government. Your thoughts, Emerald Moon?
I don't mean to be basic, but I can't help but agree that people really fucking didn't like Dutton.
Yep.
Right? It's just, that seems pretty obvious.
Don't be worried about having an unoriginal take there. That's perfectly understandable. That's what the numbers are telling us unequivocally. Yeah.
That just seems quite well, and it's also what the experience on the ground was telling us. It was remarkable. And people who've been on the booths more than me, I was on the booths a little bit, but the number of Liberal voters even apparently who were coming through and going, really not a fan of Dutton though. I really don't like him as the leader. It fucked them. He really fucked it up for them. I don't think that it's he made some remarkable misstep throughout the campaign. I know there's been a little bit, there've been some write-ups and opinion pieces about how he went wrong, how he messed it up for them. I don't think it's he did something particularly wrong by backflipping on policies or anything like that. I think just fundamentally he didn't appeal to people as a leader.
Yes, it sort of seems like the more that Australians saw of him, the more that people were across against his general vibe, the less they liked.
Yeah.
Do you think the Trump factor was a significant play in hacking away at
potentially? Yeah. I don't think that everyone necessarily associated Dutton with Trump, but even so, I think there were some people who were really put off by the fear of Trump, what happened in the States, and associating Dutton with Trump. And I think there were other people who maybe didn't even think that Dutton was much like Trump, but they almost, they just didn't like him anyway.
Well, Dutton certainly, and people like Jacinta Price certainly made noises towards the idea that Trump's victory in the US signifies something, right? This kind of quiet majority across the Western world and anti-wokeness, rejecting all that, right? And I think that fed into them trying to own that, initially off the bat after Trump's victory when everyone was
but then
going,
backing away.
And then try to back away. I'm like, nah, man. I mean, I don't know if you saw Jacinta Dummagibber-Price on the ABC last night and Sarah Ferguson sort of saying, hey, there's that photo of you wearing a cap that says Make America Great Again. You're out there with this footage that everyone has seen of you saying Make Australia Great Again. And Jacinta Price is like, hey, you can sling a lot of mud, man. You can sling a lot of mud. I'm like, we've seen you do this, motherfucker.
When you're slinging mud, yes, putting up a picture of myself that I took in the outfit that I dressed myself in.
That's
cheating. How dare you? But I think it's the contradictions in it. Like, that's the fact that they went for Trump and then they were like, oh, that's not popular. We're not going to do that. And this simultaneously trying to position Dutton as like what would probably be the only thing you can really do with Dutton is be like, he's a strong man. He was a cop. He's powerful, blah, blah, blah. But then they also realized that wasn't really resonating. And so at the same time, they're trying to be like, no, he's actually a nice guy and he has feelings and he's real. And
he's real. He's a real boy.
He's a real boy. He's a real boy with real feelings and a real life and a real family. But too many contradictions. It was not, they didn't have one brand for him because nothing was working.
Did you see this crazy statement? A message from Kirrily Dutton. Above all else, Peter is a listener. Whether he's with family, friends, residents in Dixon, or the many Australians he meets as a parliamentarian, he's attentive and curious. So she put out this statement about how my husband's a great listener.
What?
Well, at the same time, it's like he's just called the guy to the ABC the hate media, and he's presenting himself as a strongman. This is all over the shop, guys. You've got to get this story straight.
No, I don't know what. Yeah, so clearly, like, Dutton was a liability for them. The only my other thing though is, I'm curious to know because I, to be honest, haven't been consuming much of the media. Like, I'm kind of locked away and just working last night and not seeing a whole lot of the commentary. And is Labor trying to be like, this is an endorsement of us, I guess, and an endorsement of majority government? People didn't want a Labor minority government because I don't know that that's necessarily like. I don't think that this election is a reinforcement of the two-party system, for example.
Well, that's how they're going to receive it. I think, yes, true, all the independents have been returned and expanded their benches. There are a few that have gone to Teal candidates that were there, unfortunately not in Wannon. RIP Alex Dyson. Much love to you, my friend.
But he did well. But yeah,
devastated. He did very well, yes. But they thought this is going to be the one. And now Dan Tehan might be a new leader of the Liberal Party? ? Which would be electric. If you thought Peter Dutton was boring and spoke in a monotone, wait till you're hit with some fucking Dan Tehan speeches, people.
I can't even picture the man.
But look, Labor increased their primary vote, right? So this secular trend we have of decreasing major party votes is certainly not happening. But yes, it's certainly interesting that again, even Jim Chalmers on the ABC last night is not saying that this is like an endorsement of the past 3 years. Certainly, the past 3 years of the Albanese government. This was entirely about the past few months and the way they campaigned. And you've got to give full credit to them. They turned around an amazing campaign. They did come up with some relatively big swing policies. I think that's probably fair to say. There was something of a shift there about a slightly bigger vision that certainly we got in 2022. I think that's totally fair enough. But it was really about the next 3 years. The coalition was obsessed with making this about the record of the past 3 years, and Labor successfully managed to cut that off and say, no, it's about the next three. Who you want in power right now at this time of global uncertainty, thanks to old mate Trump. Who's that guy? See that guy over there, that bald motherfucker? He's actually That's Trump, and we're not. So
yeah. Well, but yes, I agree. Obviously, Labor. You could say it's an endorsement of Labor, but even so, the swing to third voice, like the swing to others, independents, micro parties. I mean, One Nation as well.
Yeah,
is bigger than the swing to Labor, as I'm seeing it right now. The national counts, like there's maybe a 2.1% swing right now to Labor and a 3.1% swing to others. One Nation's got a 1.2% swing. Greens vote is steady with potentially it's like slightly down at the moment. That could change. So that's what I mean. I think that there is still, like, I do think there was an appetite for voices outside the major parties.
Sure.
But that's not to say that
other vote,
Labor's
that none of the above vote is about 35% of the whole vote now, which would be a slight increase. I think there were some polls that had it at 40%, which is not the case. It hasn't got quite there.
Yeah.
But yes, clearly the coalition's bled a whole bunch of votes to independents and other minor parties on the right, maybe a little bit of the Greens. But yes, that's where a lot of that vote has gone, and Labor's managed to recover, and increase their primary vote by 2.1% at this stage. Did you watch Albanese's speech at all?
No. What did he say?
This guy, he's such a dag, okay? I mean, there's lots of critiques and there's much worse things than Anthony Albanese is, but he's such a fucking daggy man who...
Surely they'd love you to say that, though. Isn't that his brand? Isn't that, like, what works for them?
I guess so. Lovable dag, I suppose. He couldn't hug... He, like, shout out to his son, which is very sweet. And then he went to give his son a handshake, and then his son had to give him a hug. It was all just very... It's very awkward.
No.
Also, he got his Medicare card out, right? Because he wanted to make this point that the Medicare card isn't red or blue, it's green and gold, Australian colours. But he gets out his Medicare card and he blocks out the numbers. And I'm like, motherfucker, are you using your own Medicare card out on the campaign trail and like holding it up? And you don't want to give away the numbers on your Medicare card?
That's weird. He didn't have like a prop one.
No prop one. He's like using his hand to block the numbers on the card to show it off on national television while winning an election. I thought that was extremely strange.
Yeah. Something about me, I can't help but kind of like that. Like I'm always like, that's kind of, I don't know, sweet.
That's legit.
But I think it is
he needs
stupid.
to cover up the name and the numbers anyway. Oh, God. Yeah. I guess you could have had
or you could
Johnny
just print
Australian
with dental on it like Adams. Yeah.
Well, very good. Very good. The speech was extremely Australia first. So obviously in Albanese's speech and in Penny Wong's introduction to it, they were very much like, we love Australia, we love this country, we don't look to other countries for inspiration. So they were going very hard on that. Yeah, a lot of Australia first stuff. The acknowledgement thing, there were moments in the speech when I was like, I get it, all right? There are glimmers of the Anthony Albanese that I would love him to be. And I understand why progressive people on the left, people in the Labor movement look at this guy and they see the glimmers, these moments in which you want to like him, right? And his life story is something that progressive people and people who care about working people can certainly celebrate. And he can say some things sometimes and come across in quite a sincere, genuine way, right? Like I just had moments of
what did he say? Because I have to be honest, I haven't felt like that about Anthony Albanese for like many years.
For a long time.
What did he say?
Well, the way he cracked a few jokes throughout it, the way the rhetoric was all there. Again, if you want to feel better about this result, just suspend all your critical faculties, forget everything you know about the Labor Party, and just take all their rhetoric on face value, and it can make you feel quite good. If you're able to do that, you'd be like, oh, these guys are saying nice things that I agree with, so that's fantastic. Hopefully they do something about it.
Well, this is for ordinary Australians, not the top end of town, or like rejecting division and hate.
Yes, a lot of that. Australians voted for Australian values. Australians voted to face global challenges in the Australian way, looking after each other, coming together while looking after each other. Again, buying into the no one held back, no one left behind kind of rhetoric. Again, compassion being a strength. Rejecting the kind of hard man framing of Dutton. Again, all nice things that I would like to believe in. So that was good. So again, if you don't look at the details, it's like it feels real good. But there was this acknowledgement moment, right? He comes out and he sort of says, "Yeah, we won," and I acknowledge the traditional owners, right? And this gets a massive round of applause from the crowd, being a rejection of the culture war, welcome to country conversation that we've had. But I'm sorry, as soon as he said that, I was just reminded of 2022 when he he made an acknowledgement of country and said that we commit ourselves to the Uluru Statement from the Heart in full. And I just think, wow, 3 years later, you get a thumping majority and your victory is, well, I'm going to do an acknowledgement of country. I've abandoned those two other elements of the Uluru Statement from the Heart. Any kind of progressive commitment to treaty or truth is gone. But hey, I'm saying I acknowledge the
and patting yourself on the back for that,
and getting an explosion of applause from people. Anyway, just before we move on to Greens results specifically, Peter Dutton's gone, and I think that's really cool and good.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. It's really nice.
We endorse that. We're on board with that. Yeah.
That's right. We endorse that. I don't know. I was trying to think of other things to discuss about the campaign. I was like, do you think that what about the influencer and celebrity kind of endorsement side of this, right? Because that was a lot of commentary. There was a lot of commentary around that being a feature of this campaign as opposed to previous Australian elections. And there was, definitely there were a lot of powerful people online who were backing in Albanese over Dutton, or even the Greens over Dutton. It was all very anti-Dutton. Do you reckon that had an effect, or was that just like reinforcing the mood?
I don't know. I'd have to look at like sort of the demographic breakdown, and I don't know how we do that all the time in Australian seats. I think it's mainly based on seats, right? Like these are the youngest seats. That was certainly the 2022 narrative, like these Green seats. All the seats where the median age is a lot younger overwhelmingly went for Labor and the Greens. We know that millennials and Gen Zs made up a majority of the electorate this year. We've got to that point, so obviously that's a factor in it. But yeah, if you've got people like, you know, Abby Chetfield obviously broadly endorsing the Greens, but also giving sympathetic earrings to Albanese, Hannah Ferguson, you got Friendly Geordie's factor, you know, you've Punters Politics that was kind of the Tutor
Advocate, like advising Labor, or you know, an associated company advising them,
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, that's certainly out there.
You didn't know that?
No, what were they doing?
Oh, this was reported on. It was like, I think it's like Diamantina Holdings, or like someone. There's the group that media group that's associated with or runs Batuta Advocate had been contracted by Labor to advise them on a podcast strategy, I believe. And this was reported.
Right, as in just which podcast to go on. Okay.
Yeah, I guess so. And like using their connections to organize them. To organize interviews and stuff, I suppose.
Yeah.
And they said that, you know, it was at arm's length from, like, that doesn't mean that Batuta Advocate is like working for Labor, but it was obviously there was a connection there.
Sure. Okay. Once again, Serious Danger snubbed. We weren't part of their strategy.
I don't know. Why didn't Labor contract us? We've got so many connections in the podcasting industry.
Abby Chetfield, you'll talk to Purple Figures. You won't talk to us, motherfucker. Come on.
I know.
Come on.
I know. I have in person asked Abby if she would like to come on the show. She's lovely. Maybe she's just really busy, but also maybe she doesn't want to just come on. Maybe she just doesn't want to come on our show, and that's okay. That's okay.
Is it though? Is it actually okay?
It's fine. Yeah, it's really fine. Yeah.
Don't even want her on. Who cares? We're busy. We've got other guests.
I'll still be watching F-Boy Island because I really like that show. So,
do you have any interest or do you care at all about who will be the next leader of the Liberal Party?
Oh, no. No.
Good to check. Good to check. I mean, fuck, it will be fascinating.
I assume there's pressure.
Look like?
There's pressure for them to have a female leader, right?
The only names I've heard are Angus Taylor and Dan Tehan, so Hume. No.
Yeah, but I mean, like from the political, like there's people being like, oh, if they were smart, they would have a woman leader. So I'm sure there'll be some commentary around that, and their women problem, because that is a feature, and I would be interested to see the demographic analysis, like from the election and the exit polling and stuff around how women felt about the Liberals, particularly in relation to Dutton, because I think he really turns women off, and just like Scott Morrison did as well, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it seems very unlikely they'll elect a woman. I'm sure that there will be discussion around that, I assume.
Well, it'll be fascinating because it's like the obvious move, and I guess their analysis will tell them whatever. But you would think that this would be a wake up call to the coalition to be like, yeah, you've gone far too right, and yes, you have no appeal to the wets and the soft left of the Liberal Party, right? So you need to appeal more to the slightly more progressive conservative vote. But all those people are gone. Like there's none of those people left in the fucking party. And a bunch of the hard right are gone as well. So it's like, yes, they're certainly going to have an identity crisis. That's for sure. I'm loving the on all the various election coverages, the coalition representative was so worked up about all the Labor lies and all the lying and how mean and nasty the Labor Party was throughout this entire election.
What were they lying about?
Well, I actually think it's based on my minimal research. This figure about the nuclear plan costing $600 billion that Labor was willing a lot does seem to be mildly dodgy. Okay, the Jason Clare claimed it came from the CSIRO, and it didn't. It came from the Smart Energy Council, which I don't know enough about the Smart Energy Council to tell you either way, but they have a dog in the fight, and they're not as neutral as perhaps the CSIRO was. So I think that's probably fair enough. But I'm sorry, motherfuckers. You live by the sword, die by the sword, my friends. You cannot get too hurt feelings about this. I'm sorry. But that's the angle they're going with, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with our policy platform. There's nothing wrong with what we offer the Australian people. It was all the lying that Labor did.
Right. It was their fault. And that they were also lying about Peter Dutton being horrible and unlikable. Right?
Yes. The character assassination against Peter Dutton. It's like they just based it on the things he said and done and the way he fucking looks. Okay,
you can't. And this is what I mean. That I'm like, I don't think that happened during the campaign. You can't. It's not. We said this before, that it's like the legal test for defamation. Again, not a lawyer, but there's that thing where you have to have like lowered their estimation from an existing point in the public understanding of this person,
right.
And that's not what's happened. It's that no one liked Peter Dutton to start with, and they exploited that.
I'll tell you another big factor is I think that the voice referendum made the coalition think, bingo, bango, we've got a finger on the pulse. We get the Australian people. Most of the Australian people are with us and they love us, right? Which is wrong, depressingly true on that particular topic. I think that's probably fair enough. And although there are lots of people who voted no for lots of different reasons, and clearly there are a whole bunch of people who are very happy to vote Labor who voted no to the voice. Like this result clearly shows that. But yeah, I think that was a big thing of them getting high on their own farts there, saying, yes, thumping no vote. That's what we backed in. We got that done. And we can now use and capitalize the Albanese government even holding the referendum in the first place as a political attack.
Yeah. No, Australians just, hate Aboriginal people more than they like you guys, and more than they like the Liberals. That's really great news for the country. No, sorry, that's not really my take. I don't think that's a very flat version of the referendum result, to be clear, but
we're going to say a lot of things. We got big feelings, as my niece would say, my 3-year-old niece. Big feelings.
Big feelings.
All right, shall we chat about the Greens held seats that we have? Let's start with those and go through them.
Yeah, not so good. Next. And thanks for listening to Serious Danger.
Yes, okay. Well, the ones we can sort of pretty confidently call at this point is that, yes, Max Chandler-Mather will not be being returned as the member for Griffith. He, according to the ABC, at this particular time has suffered a 1.6% swing against him. Labor got 5.6% swing on the primary, Liberals in third, and they are going to put Labor over the line there. A 15% swing away to the Labor Party on the two-party preferred, accordingly. Thoughts, feelings?
Well, okay. First of all, I think a lot of people like me who are close to this knew that this was the risk for the last little bit. I will say though, quick shout out to Alistair, who emailed the pod back in March. The subject line of the email was idle speculation re Griffith. And they said, the LNP does not, as of Monday night, appear to have yet announced a candidate for Griffith. A comment on the Poll Bludger blog suggested this might be an LNP strategy to, quote, run dead and place third, electing the ALP candidate and booting out our beloved Max. Do we think there's any credence to this theory, or is this giving the major party duopoly too much credit? Would such a strategy even work? And here's my response. I was like, I think I said it something like unlikely, but, not crazy to speculate about. 2022 already saw a pretty significant hit to the LNP vote, and they're unlikely to bleed many more voters to a Labor newcomer, even if she's quite active, as compared with Terry Butler, who was a very well-known and established incumbent. But hey, there is the possibility that inner city voters hate Dutton even more than they hated Morrison. And if the Greens aren't seen as the clear alternative, that is a possibility. And that is what happened. And it did become clear, I think, to people on the ground just how few people were voting Liberal. In fact, literally Liberal volunteers and party members that our volunteers were talking to were saying that they were going to vote Greens because they didn't want a Labor majority government. Like, there were so many, and there were Liberal members who were voting Labor or Greens because they didn't like Dutton. Like, clearly that is what was happening. I don't necessarily think that this was like a coordinated or even a really well thought out strategy from the Liberals necessarily. I think it's just, that's how it shook out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Labor is now going to get up on Liberal preferences. So congratulations.
Well, yes, okay, but let's not get. I always get a little bit worried when we go down that.
I know that's a bit
It's like
of
we're winning seats on preferences. Everyone's winning seats on preferences. It's how it works.
Everyone's winning seats on preferences.
But I guess Labor loves to attack Greens, saying
it is
Greens
the irony
win
of it.
Yeah, okay, right, gotcha. Who's this Dion Hunt guy from the People First Party? Who are People First?
That's Jared Rennick.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Jared Rennick, People First, who actually, this is the other interesting thing. I mean, not massive, but it looks like they've got at least around a 5% kind of broad vote in Senate and across the country. And I will say they were present on the ground. I don't know about if this was the case in other states, but they had volunteers out there, and their volunteers were evangelical, some of them, about Jared Rennick and his People First vision. It was pretty interesting. I haven't really seen many successful instances of that where you have some nutjob conservative leave the LNP and actually successfully build their own thing. I don't think they're going to win, but when you look at the fact that their vote is inching up towards One Nation, who've been around forever and have more resources and profile, or a bunch of other parties like that.
They've got more at this point.
It is interesting.
At this point, People First is, in Griffith at least, has got 2.3% and One Nation's got 2.2%. They've overtaken them, actually. So, yeah, there you go.
Well, yes, in Griffith, I think that's not too surprising, right. But even nationwide, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, not many people in Griffith obviously are voting One Nation, but there was something, people were interested in this kind of anti-politics vision that felt like that's what People First were going for. They were kind of anti-vax vibes. That's how it was presented. I had stopped and had a conversation out of curiosity, went undercover and spoke to one of their volunteers at the booth. And she was talking about reducing HEX debt. And she was also saying, well, what happened was he was fighting for people like me who couldn't get vaccinated during COVID. So I think that was the big selling point. It was that kind of politics.
God, people are still caring about that. That's so strange.
Still a thing.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Adam Bant's tweet about Mr. Max. There's never been a first-term MP who has had the impact Max Chandler-Mather has had. He put the rental crisis firmly in the spotlight. He secured billions of dollars for social housing. He fed his local community with his own money. This is not the last we've seen of him. I mean, it's
isn't
sad.
That a bit mean to Stephen though as well? Any other first-term MP? I can see, I see what he's saying, but it's a bit. No?
Look, he means on the national stage, okay? He means on the national stage.
Sure.
And, Stephen and Libby are great. We know this. But I think even they would acknowledge that Max has been a star for the party on this particular portfolio. He's done an extraordinary job of raising the salience of that. And, again, yes, good luck and thank you to Stephen and Libby. But no, I think that's completely fair enough without taking anything away from anyone, really. What did he say during his speech? How did he sort of tackle it?
To all the people out there across this country whose lives depend on the idea that politics can deliver something more than the status quo. And we know that the people happiest tonight will be those in the political establishment who hope that you will give up. And I'm asking you tonight to recognise the awesome power you have and have built over the last decade here in Queensland and longer, that have not just inspired people in Queensland but across the country to get up and fight for something bigger than ourselves. Let me tell you, what we are trying to do is fundamentally transform Australian politics, economy and society in favour of ordinary working people. And that sort of project is going to have more setbacks than it has victories, because the forces that we are coming up against are enormously powerful, incredibly powerful. And time and again in history, brilliant people like you in this room have suffered setback after setback after setback. And only after then have we cracked through and won.
But he basically was saying, you know, time and again, left movements around the world, you know, throughout history have had setback after setback, and before they've gone on to break through. He basically said, you know, yeah, this is really tough. This is hard. Winning is hard. And this is something that I heard a lot in the party. It was like, people were like, yeah, winning is fucking hard. And, you know, a lot of things have to align for it to happen. And the thing is, like, if the LNP vote hadn't collapsed, it could have been an incredible night for the Greens. That's what's bizarre. Like, it's so similar to 2022, really. Like, the vote across those incumbent lower house seats in Brisbane is stable or even up. And yet, because the Liberal vote collapsed, it's a completely different story to 2022. In 2022, we were ecstatic to get those primary votes. And that was when those seats, like particularly Brisbane and Ryan, for example, weren't even in the spotlight. Like, they didn't really have resources being amassed to take on those candidates. So it's kind of remarkable that, yeah, we were even able to achieve that. And so winning is hard, but, you know, doesn't mean that you give up. And it's like, I think that I, especially as someone who like works for the Greens, I kind of go in and I think about all the volunteers, and I think, shit, is this, you know, all these people who've given up so much for the movement are going to go, why did I even do that? But like, people who care about this shit don't just go, oh, maybe I'll set aside a couple of years to put in a good effort and fix everything. And that's it. That's not really how it works. People get into this because they're like, this is what I want to make a difference however I can. And this is what we're fighting for. And I care about this. So like,
for the rest of my life.
That's why I think there is that mood.
As long as I'm alive, I'm going to dedicate in a lot of various different ways. Sometimes that will mean I get elected as the member for Griffith. But you know, as a human being alive in the world right now, yes, I have to put time and energy into the endless task of trying to make my country and the world a better place. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, both Stephen and Max, I don't know if this was even really reported, but like Stephen and Max got up towards the end of the night at the Brisbane party last night and said that they'd conceded. They'd called the Labor members to congratulate them and gave their speeches, right? And yeah, they both were talking about what they have been able to do in the last few years. And this is, I think, when everyone, and I would probably start crying too. But yeah, like the number of, you know, people who didn't go hungry, like, or who got out of their car or a tent and into a home because of the service that those officers provided, and the like billions of dollars for housing. Yeah, it's, you know, whatever the gains look like, they're fucking real. And it's something to celebrate. And I think just one more thing on what happened in Griffith generally and Brisbane generally is another reminder of how out of touch the media establishment are, because the number of articles that I read saying, oh, Max Chandler-Mather he'll be okay in Griffith because he has a high media profile. So he'll retain Griffith. Elizabeth Watson-Brown, you know, we don't really know her. She doesn't do much media, so she'll lose Ryan. And I'm obviously watching this, I'm reading this going, you guys have no fucking idea. Like, that is not the way that it's going to play out. But the media are so the center of their own universe that they're like, oh, I like this guy because he plays in our circus and he's good at media, and so that must mean that he's going to win. And I just think, that's a really good indicator of, remember that the political commentariat are not necessarily the best judge of reality in these contests a lot of the time. No, and I mean, that's a bigger question too. I mean, again, a comforting thought throughout this whole thing was just like, everyone was way off here. I mean, apparently Anthony Albanese, again, the multiple reports of him being very confident and him talking about, Labor winning over 80 seats. So good luck to him. He clearly has, either very strong faith or some really great information. But I think, across the board, think about all the predictions, the polling obviously tipped to a Labor win, but nothing like this. Nobody can walk away from this being like, haha, yes, the everything I predicted totally came true, and we totally saw this happening, including people within the Greens. I think that's probably fair enough to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so Vale Max, yes, haven't seen the last of him. We love you, and hey, if the new Labor member continues to sacrifice parts of her salary to fund free school breakfasts, that's good. If not, I guess
apparently she's promised she will.
Okay, great, good.
I don't know if she said she'd sacrifice her own salary, but apparently they promised to continue the brekkies. So
okay, well. There you go. There's another fucking win. All right. Like, I mean, again, but based on
but that's true. Yeah.
The material
never would have done that otherwise.
Yes. The material wins that we've got is one thing, but the precedent, I mean, again, the joy of 2022 proving that it is possible. Right. And that hasn't gone away, that we haven't lost that. That's not an anomaly that will never, ever be repeated. Absolutely not. We can and will continue to win elections and fight hard for what we believe in and be serious contenders. And that's why they hate us. That's why they hated Max, is because he was effective and he cut through and he was a winner, right? So try not to lose that. Seat of Brisbane, as you say, Stephen debates a tiny swing against him, but pushes him into third place. So that is going to the Labor Party, Madonna Jarrett of, what was she from again? Was it PwC? No.
Deloitte.
Deloitte. Fantastic.
Yeah, the number of people as well, because we posted social clips about this, and the number of, maybe Labor associated people, who knows, but people saying she's not the director of Deloitte, she's a director at Deloitte. To which I say, I don't fucking care. It's bad. That is bad. That's a bad thing to be working at all for Deloitte, for a consulting firm at the Big Four, but to have a high level position at a Big Four consulting firm, bad, and I don't want them to be my MP. So I hope that clears it up for everyone. Thanks.
Shout out to Trevor Evans too, running to try and win back the seat he got and suffering a 4% swing against him, just going back and again to lose even harder. Well done. I mean, he still finishes first on primary votes, I guess, but still, people do not like you there.
Hope he comes back next time.
Yes, he'll be back there. Ryan, at this time of recording, Greens are ahead. That's with 72.4% of the vote counted. Greens are ahead. Small swing against Libby, but she finishes second. 4.6% swing against the LNP. Rebecca Hack has been pushed to third, got a 6% swing to her, but she's in third place now. How confident are you? We still don't know, waiting to see, or is it feeling pretty good?
It's still, it seems to be going up and down a lot, but the general mood seems to be pretty positive unless something changes radically. And I think there will be some hard scrutineering happening over the next week or more on that one. Okay. But this is the thing that, again, we knew was the risk with the Liberal vote collapsing, ironically, bad in Griffith, good in Ryan, where the Liberals have been the biggest threat. This is one where they've always held the seat, except for one by-election that Labor got once upon a time. And it's pretty surprising. We had kind of thought for a few years that Labor on the west side, Labor in Ryan, in this area of Brisbane, was dead. So I'm sure it's a shot in the arm for them a little bit.
Rebecca Hack. Great name. I think we've celebrated before.
Yeah, really great name, hey. Back on track with Hack was her.
Yes.
Which, it's ironic given that the Liberal Party slogan was Get Australia Back on Track. But anyway.
Oh, no. Dear Lord. I mean, again, at this time of counting, it's a 5.1% swing to the Greens on a two-party preferred. But again, that could change so much. By the way, shout out to the fucking ABC, giving me a heart attack several times last night. There were points when the website was different to the screen total. Yeah. They called one for the Greens, they took it back. They gave 3 to the Greens, and they took that back. It was fucking chaos.
Right? Imagine sitting in a room full of Greens MPs and staff and seeing the screen go, wait, why does it say 3 now? Why does it say 2? Why does it say 0?
Oh my God. So bizarre. Okay, then there's the seat of Melbourne. Have you heard of this seat before? Are you familiar with this one?
Which one is that? Can you remind me?
I believe it's held by our leader, Mr. Adam Mand, friend of the show.
Toothbrush guy. That's right.
Toothbrush guy. Okay, at time of recording, 60% of the vote counted. Greens are ahead. Again, I'm sure people are aware. A lot of moments last night when it looked like potentially Adam was in trouble. You wouldn't say he's out of the woods yet, but it does seem like he is ahead by 2,000 votes, it says here. A 2.4% swing against him for a primary vote of 42.3%. And Labor's had a very good campaign there, a 5.5% swing to their candidate. Liberals at 17%. So, yes, I don't know, a bit of relief there, I suppose, but certainly heart and mouth stuff. And again, some of the worst people in Australian political commentary getting very confident and excited last night about Adam Mand being chucked out of the parliament. Yeah,
this is what, like, to be honest, I was not thinking about Melbourne. I was not thinking. In fact, I had a conversation with my little sister who cast her first ever vote this election and is living in the seat of Melbourne, explaining to her what a safe seat was and showing her the graph that showed just how safe Adam Mand was. So he better win in order for me to not be wrong and owned in front of my sister.
There you go, Adam. There's your motivation. Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll get to it when we talked about wills. I remember talking to someone in the Victorian Greens, and they were sort of saying they thought it was ridiculous that often state offices, putting resources into Melbourne and like, we got to protect Adam, and they thought that was a bit ridiculous. But
I think they could have put much more. I think they didn't put that many resources into it, to be honest. Like, they probably could have put a bit more.
Well, this is the idea that potentially, more effort was put into wills, and the idea of Adam's safety in that seat was a bit taken for granted. But, I mean, again, it goes without saying that losing Adam from the parliament would be devastating and would be a real shame for the country and for the party. He is a thoroughly decent man who, has poured everything he's got into this movement and has done incredible things for the party. And whenever I hear him speak, I'm so glad that we have a progressive voice like his out there. My impression was that he's an extremely popular local member. And I have no idea about Sarah Whitty. Good luck to her. And maybe she ran a fantastic campaign. I don't know. Or maybe it is just this incredible sentiment, this extraordinary push that this result illustrates, which is people, hate the right and were happy to endorse Labor. I don't know, I guess. But if you're someone who voted for Adam before, you're switching your vote to help your local Labor Party candidate in that seat?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of voter turnover in these seats, so you can't necessarily say that it's people changing from Greens to Labor. But
sure.
Yeah, what was the swing? What's the swing against Adam at the moment, and what's the swing against the Libs?
2.4% against him, and then 5.5% to Labor. 1.8% against the Liberal Party.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
so
it's
obviously,
like
some Greens vote yes.
But this is the thing. Like, obviously, if you are the leader of the party, and then you're not going to be in your electorate a lot. It's a lot harder to campaign in your electorate.
Yes.
That's got to have an impact, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yes. Fingers crossed for you, Adam. We hope you're okay. Senate's all pretty, I guess, early days, but also a bit boring. But looks like we have, just kept all our senators, which is fantastic. Obviously, that's great news. Larissa Waters is returning to Canberra.
Thank
fuck.
To
know. Yes, thank fuck indeed. Steph Hodgins-May has been re-elected for Victoria, which is great. I will say, weirdly, ACT got a swing against us again. Still don't know what's happening in the ACT there. 1.67%.
Well, is that to Pocock?
I guess Pocock.
Because he's got like a 20% swing.
Yeah, fucking hell. Okay, Jesus. That is impressive.
So, yeah, which is wild.
People love that guy.
I mean,
yeah.
Guess so. Yeah.
And I can't see the national vote swing to the Senate. Is that something that we can tell? I'm not sure. Anyway, we've got 11. We won 4, and we're likely on 2. So we'll be hanging on to those 11 senators. So that is a good news. Whether that will mean we're still in balance of power in the Senate. I think that is true, right? Labor's got 28, Liberals, the Coalition 26, Greens 11. So, yeah,
Okay.
they'll still need us.
Yeah.
You got Pocock in there. You got UAP in there. Tammy Tyrrell's still in there. Jackie Lambie still TBC. No Trumpet of Patriots and no Jared Rennick just yet. So, yeah, we would still be playing a significant role in the Senate.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, in terms of legislative power, not much change. Labor government, Greens balance of power in Senate. Isn't that funny?
That's true. I guess, yes, we'll just have much less of a platform to talk about the stuff we care about, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right, just quickly, McNamara has not gone to the Greens. 1.5% swing against the Greens vote in McNamara and a 5.8% swing to the Labor Party, according to the ABC at this point. That's with about 60% of the vote counted. Liberals getting 0% swing either way. Just exactly the same vote as last time.
Just chilling. That's interesting. So no swing against them, because that's kind of unusual. Like they've got swings against them across the board.
I guess so, yeah. I guess perhaps some former Liberals who might have gone Greens before might have gone back to the Liberals. I think that's probably pretty reasonable, maybe. But yeah, there you go.
I mean, the pattern across the country is quite clear that it is a direct transfer from the Liberals to Labor. So that's kind of an anomaly. And maybe it is like Gaza and Palestine in that seat. I don't know. But yeah.
Wills, still a nail biter. At this time of recording, Peter Khalil leads by 941 votes. So Samantha Ratnam is coming first on primary. 3.6% swing to her, a 1.2% swing against Peter Khalil. Liberals finishing third with a 4.2% swing against them.
Yeah.
Big swing to Socialist Alliance, bringing them to 8.7%. That's kind of interesting. But yes, that was, Wills is the seat to me. That's the one that was going back and forth constantly. I think at one point it was called for the Greens at some point. We all were very excited, but there's a chance.
Oh, was it?
I think so. I felt like it was like.
Yeah, there was at one point I know it was like we were feeling hopeful.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, again, good luck to you, Samantha Ratnam. If you're not successful, hopefully you could find a job somewhere because you quit to do this. But I'm sure she'll be fine.
I think so.
And again, the results, how these things shake out, this will, I think, really help form the narrative of what this election means. People will, of course, want to say that the Greens' position on Israel Gaza is like, this is a rejection of the Greens having the temerity to stand against the genocide and talk about that. I think we would have to wait to see the results to see whether or not that is the case. Certainly in Wills, where that was, a major part of the campaign, we're getting a 3.6% swing to us and almost win the seat.
They get a positive swing.
Yeah.
And Morton as well. Right. I will say Morton earlier in the night was looking like a massive swing towards Rima Naji. It's not as big at this point, but it's still a positive swing.
Yeah.
And there's positive swings in Richmond, right? Like I think, that doesn't really hold up. I don't think that the Greens, this is the thing, like I think any analysis that is like the Greens really fucked up, I don't think is actually holding. I don't think that that's cope. I truly don't. I'm pretty confident in that because the Greens vote has held up. What the Greens didn't do successfully is win enough votes from Labor to hold on. Like that to me is the pretty clear, that's the challenge. Like I think there was a, readily observable pivot from the Greens to a defensive strategy off the back of state and territory elections and noting the risk that people who didn't want a Dutton government, didn't want a Liberal government would vote Labor out of fear that they would otherwise be handing it to the Liberals. And so there was a pivot towards stopping that bleed from the Greens to Labor, which we saw, for example, in the Queensland state election particularly. And like that was successful, I would say. Like the Greens succeeded in not bleeding more votes to Labor, but that means that particularly with the Liberals falling into third, the path to victory would have been, or to retention in those seats they held, would have been winning enough votes from Labor. And they weren't able to, I think, do the defensive at the same time as the offensive. And that's the challenge.
Yeah. All right, let's put a pin in that because I like to come to big picture stuff. Let's just get through the last of these seats.
Let's come back to it.
Yeah, Perth was another big target. Congrats to Sophie Greer. Got a 2.3% swing to her for a primary of 24.4. Yeah. So that's, in striking distance next time around. But Patrick Gorman enjoyed a 4.7% swing to him. And again, sorry, just coming back to no one saw this coming and how historic this is. I think not a single government has increased their primary vote in their second term since the 1940s or something like that, right? Again, Peter Dutton is the first opposition leader to lose his seat. Like these are like seismic, never before seen kind of things. So you would think, particularly after the past 3 years, okay, now we can obviously debate about how much the economic pain that people have been through is, how much of a responsibility the Labor government can take for that. But despite all that, yes, going into a second term, the fact that the Labor is increasing its support is remarkable. So these kind of swings, 4% swing to a sitting member under a government is, unprecedented.
Yeah.
Sturt doesn't seem to have resulted in much at all. That was that was a genuine three-corner contest there. Katie McCusker, the Greens candidate, has had a slight 0.4% swing against her. The primary vote is 16% there. I've met Katie. She's a lovely person. There was, cool energy around the state election. But I think the idea that was ever a target seat was always
bit of a stretch.
Bit of wishful thinking, if I'm honest. Yeah. But good luck to them all. That's gone to the Labor Party. So that's a loss from the Libs. That's, again, another seat that Labor picked up. And the seat of Richmond with our good friend, Mandy Nolan. This is another one that was all over the fucking shop last night and was, I think, again, basically indicated that Mandy was basically going to get up there on a regular basis, but that is not how
it's changed a lot from when I looked last night. Like when I looked last night, it was like 12 or 13% swing to the Greens, and it was still a hard path ahead because the Nationals were in third. But now the swing is looking much smaller. So there must have been some booths, or perhaps it was pre-poll that's come through and changed that pretty significantly. So Labor is ahead at this point, right?
There must be different parts of that seat that vote wildly different.
Richmond is a really unusual seat in terms of the geographical distribution. Like that is, and we maybe spoke to it a little bit with Mandy, but like it is pretty bizarre. It's a pretty bizarre collection of people and places in that seat. And so that will happen. I was like, when we saw the initial swings, I was like, okay, what booths have come in? Like Mullumbimby? Like you can't walk 3 meters in Mullen right now, without seeing a Mandy Nolan sign. But then you can head up to Tweed, and the picture would be very different. I was seeing still some positive messaging from the party on Richmond as of early this morning, but to me, it looks like a hard path for Mandy to get up, which is a real shame. Like she would be fucking brilliant in there. I would love that. That was one of my kind of private dreams. Even though I'm a pessimist in elections, I was like, if Mandy could make it to Parliament, that would really make me really happy. But it's a hard battle, especially with a swing towards Labor in a seat like that.
Yeah, so we're just inching above the Nationals vote. We're 25.7, Nationals 25.4. So, and obviously the Nationals' preferences are going to work out better for Labor. So, that's where it's at. But yes, again, gives you a good indication of the weirdness of that seat. God love you, Mandy Nolan. Thank you for your service. Again, some last-minute beat-ups about Hitler jokes. Did you follow all that kind of stuff?
No.
Again, pulling up old material and columns that Mandy had written and people saying that, yes, she's an anti-Semite because she referenced Hitler, of course. Not that I can relate to any of that. But a comedian will win. We will get a comedian in Parliament.
Send the comedian to Parliament House.
Representation matters. Okay, so that's that. I had a whole bunch of other seats that were of interest to me. We can speed through these basically, but good story for me, from my point of view. Fraser, the seat that I am in, with a fantastic candidate, Hung Trung, a 7% swing to her, which means the Greens now finish in second. In 2022, we finished third. We are now in second. 7% swing to us. Tiny swing to Daniel Molino from the Labor Party. But again, finding a narrative and figuring out what went well and what didn't go well, you have to look at Fraser and sort of say, this is Hung Trung, daughter of Vietnamese refugees, Westie, union organizer, Palestine front and center. She's out on the poll booths wearing a keffiyeh, and the occupation of Palestine is on our pamphlets. We're talking about it. She's such a thoroughly decent person that is exactly the kind of people we want in the Greens as candidates, I think. And the ground game was fantastic. I contributed very little to that, but there was a group of young, enthusiastic people out in the west of Melbourne that really believe in Hung and the Greens, and the seat of Footscray in the state election next year could very well go Green. So, if you want some good news, have a look at that seat. Would be my hot tip.
Yeah. Do you know about, just quickly, because I saw this wasn't on your list of interesting seats, but the seat of Bean. Do you know anything about this independent? Because Jesse Price, who seems to be a kind of, a tealy independent, but one of those ones where they're taking on a Labor MP, and they are, at the time of recording, ahead by just over 400 votes. This has been in the ACT.
Right.
And I had a look at their website, and they seem pretty left. They're talking about no new coal and gas. They're talking about raise the rate. They're talking about taxing big corporations, all of these things.
Oh, wow.
So that would be really cool if they were elected, I think, actually, just off my first impressions.
Cool. Yeah, good one. She spent time supporting a refugee women's organisation, Myanmar border.
Yeah.
She's a former journalist. The only thing I know about Bean is that it includes Norfolk Island, so it's one of the first results you get because it's such a tiny part. But even though it's in the ACT, Norfolk Island people are represented by the member for Bean.
Sure.
So that's interesting.
That is
sure.
interesting.
We'll take that. Morton, we mentioned. Congratulations to Rima for getting a swing to her, 22%. That's pretty fucking solid as a primary vote.
Yeah.
In a Brisbane seat. That's great. Cooper is weird. Cooper is odd. The Greens have suffered a small swing against them, 2.3%. Tara Burnett, again, we had her on the show, fantastic candidate. Jed Carney's got a 1.1% swing to her. The Victorian Socialist, that's the story there. Kat Larkin, I think, running for the second time, 6% swing to her, bringing up to around 9.4%. So, that's that's quite remarkable, actually. Yeah. So there you go. That's I think the main VS cutting through that I've seen. Purple Pingers in the Senate got about 1.8%, I think, something like that. So I don't know how they'd be feeling, but there you go. Sydney is also weird. Swing against us in the seat of Sydney. Don't like that. No, thank you. But Teddy Cluzak got 4.8% swing to her. Again, Luke, congratulations and thank you for running and everything. But yes, some questions to be asked there about what's going on in Sydney. Graindler, again, 4.1% swing to us for a primary vote of 25.1%. Anthony Albanese comfortably returned on 54% of the vote. But again, I believe Hannah might have hit us up to come on the show. I'm sorry we didn't get to you, Hannah, but that's a fantastic result and well done. Hopefully you feel good about that. Dixon, Labor won, and that feels really good and cool.
I mean, how do you feel about that? Genuinely.
Look, you got to take the wins where you get them. I mean, and I don't want to get overexcited, but if we can take from this, how Adam talks about there's this big social democratic heart beating in Australia, and that's the appeal that the Greens are going for, right? If that is real, and that doesn't always eventuate to an increased Greens vote, but people rejecting figures like Peter Dutton and voting for an idea of what the Labor Party is about, and the Labor Party at its best, the vision it can articulate at its best about what Australia is, then that makes me feel hopeful, yes.
Yeah. There was almost 13% there for the kind of teal independent, Elliot Smith, who was a lock the gate person.
Right.
Decent showing, but yeah, looks like.
Well, to our detriment, I think, because I remember in 2022 Greens were doing quite well in Dixon, but yes, obviously a lot of our vote has gone to that independent.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah. Kooyong also terrible news for renters this election, as Amelia Hamer will not be going to Canberra either. But Ike Ryan has hung on to that seat.
No representation. Yeah. Bad news for electoral signs. Bad news for renter landlords. But generally good news.
Did Max buy a house, by the way?
Look,
did he buy a house and now he's unemployed?
No.
Do we know what's going on there? No.
No, I don't think he would. I mean, not that I know of. Where'd you hear that?
No, I remember us
Maybe
talking
he
about
did.
it. Well, I just think you would. If you were on a salary of 200K, although he did sacrifice some of that salary, which wouldn't have helped him.
I don't think that. I think he gave away a bit too much of his salary, to be honest.
What a fucking idiot. Nicole Flint is lost in Boothby. That's also good. She is one of the worst people in Australian politics, so the fact that she's not coming back is great.
Goodbye.
Fremantle, we, of course, profiled Amy Warren and Kate Hewlett on the show as well.
Yeah.
Kate Hewlett got 23% of the vote, obviously to the detriment of the Greens vote as well, a swing of 6.9% against us there.
But, that's put Kate into 2PP, but like Labor's, it's not enough to get Labor out once Lib preferences come through, I'd say so.
Yes, Josh Wilson, the Labor, who is apparently against AUKUS, but won't do anything about that, of course. So that's just going to happen. So that's great news.
Love Labor MPs like that. Great.
Seat of Wannon, as we mentioned, my dear friend Alex Dyson has not got over the line. He got a 13.7% swing to him, but it was not enough to tip him over the line, which is a darn shame. Dantine is being returned for the seat of Wannon. Again, I was down in Warrnambool the week before last after Easter, and yes, the vibes there and the enthusiasm and energy for Alex was pretty remarkable, and you have to tip your cap to what he's built over the past 3 elections. But in this particular instance, it was not enough, unfortunately. But good luck to you. And last one I want to mention was Blaxland. We had Omar Saker, of course, who we had on the show as well. A small swing to him, but the story there is Ahmed Ouf, the independent, who was, not aligned with Australia Voices or Muslim Votes, was endorsed by Muslim Vote Matters, I believe, but was obviously, running against Jason Clare, the Labor incumbent there, over their stance on Gaza, and got 21% of the vote from a 0 star, which is pretty wild. 5% swing against Labor in that seat. The end.
The end.
Statement here, leader of the Greens, Adam Bant, says, with the largest Greens vote in history, the Greens will continue to push for stronger action on the housing, cost of living and climate crisis, thanking supporters and voters. At current count, the Greens have increased their vote nationally and seen swings toward them of nearly 10% in target seats across the country. That might be a little bit out of date at this point. This is a statement put out last night. But with the Liberal vote crashing to historic lows, Labor will win the seat of Griffith off the back of Liberal preferences and Brisbane too. I think there's a quote from Adam saying millions of people have voted for the Greens, which is not quite accurate. I'm sorry. 1.4 million people voted for the Greens.
That's not millions. That is million and a bit.
No, millions.
Million and a half almost. But sure.
Million people have voted Greens.
Sounds good.
In this election.
Yeah.
Yes. But look, again, looking at the party total, generally speaking, and this is, again, at time of recording, I guess 0.1% swing against the Greens. So, as you say, nationally, the Greens vote held up. But I say that and I think, is that a little bit cope, right? Because we should be judging the Greens vote on places where we hold seats and where we campaign really hard, right? Like, really, if we're being honest with ourselves.
Maybe, yeah, like in terms of an assessment of, but like I said, I think you have to remember that where the Greens were campaigning really hard was also where they were being hardest targeted.
Yes.
So, you don't really know what would have happened without the Greens campaign and how much bleeding they were able to stem. But I think, quite a lot. I think that it was, like I said, successful in avoiding loss of votes, particularly a transfer to Labor.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't succeed in the electoral project of winning more seats.
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't win enough votes. That's how it works, folks.
Yes. But it is also not true to say that Australia hates the Greens and they've rejected them entirely. That's just certainly not the case.
No.
How much did Advance play into that then, do you think? Do you think those kind of attacks were effective where they were targeted and concentrated?
No, because if that were the case, you would have seen an increase in the Liberal vote. Advance were funded by the Liberals and working for the Liberals. So I don't think their strategy was effective. They also didn't want a Labor government re-elected and they got one. So no, I don't think Advance was effective. I don't think really that all of the takes about, like, I think if there's a hard conversation to be had in the Greens about this election result, it is the potential contradictions between a politics for the working class and the middle class. And like, I think that is the hard point at which the party finds itself, because like I said, the way forward has to be pulling more votes away from Labor and one way to do that is by appealing to and like making it clear to the working class voters who think that Labor is the best party for them at the moment, making it clear to them that the Greens would be a better party for them. But I think that the ability to do that is somewhat hampered when you're also trying to sandbag by appealing to middle class, traditional kind of tree Tory base, or not even tree Tory necessarily, but I guess, those middle class sensibilities and people who maybe don't have an interest in something like rent caps being implemented, who actually might have an interest in house prices going up. That is a conflict or a contradiction that the party needs to think about. And I don't really know. Yes, like, how do you do that as an electoral project where you need to win in areas that people are voting for you in order to gain more seats and power? It feels like a difficult inflection point.
Yeah. I was thinking on the environmental front too. I mean, we're obviously centering the fact that Labor had approved these new coal and gas projects and pushing further and further is one thing. I was thinking with us sort of, taking the pedal off a little bit, the Labor critique, Labor did kind of get away with the fact that emissions went up during this term, right? Like we've come
true.
to the end, that was just not mentioned at all. And there is clearly a constituency in a vote for like tackling climate action in a serious way. And it seems the impression a lot of people got is that Labor is doing the right path to that. Again, because the contrast against them and the coalition is so fucking stark.
Yeah.
So they get to play on easy mode as opposed to us trying to saying, hang on, you've voted on these new fossil fuel projects. Emissions are up. You want more gas. And the science just tells us that's going to make things worse. And they kind of got away with that.
And I don't know how, because it's true that I don't think people just like hearing, it's not really fun for the ordinary voter to just listen to the Greens constantly saying, look at all the bad things happening, bad, that Labor is doing. I don't think that works. But how do you illustrate that, well, that is bad. They are doing bad things, but there is a better alternative. There is, we could have better things. Better things are possible for all of us, for the planet, for working class, ordinary people.
Yes.
Yeah, how do you communicate that message? And I think it's absolutely necessary if the Greens are going to, continue to make gains. I think that they're holding right now. Like I said, in terms of, you're right. They've lost platform in losing low house seats, and they've lost resources to support those communities as well, but kind of held their legislative position and their vote. So it's like treading water. How do you figure out how to go forward?
And look, and sorry, we're going long. Mike's going to be angry at us, but there's a lot to talk about. I suppose, again, coming to it, I had a lot of texts from people last night, and my general response was, it could be worse. It could be worse. It could be so much worse. I mean, let's seriously think about this. As progressive people, this is a good result for the country, broadly speaking. Okay, good result for the country. Not so great for our party and our movement at the moment. And let's take the things on in good faith that Labor has said they're going to do that we agree with. Wiping student debt is really good. It's obviously not as far enough as we would like them to go, and we believe they can go further. And it's kind of admitting how bad student debt is, but that will make a serious difference in people's lives, and it's a closer step towards universal free public education. That's fantastic. The greater funding to Medicare and the services is great. Insert other things.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. childcare, public services, fully funding schools, I think is also a fantastic engagement.
Yeah.
That's
they're not. I mean, not for a decade, but I think it's important to say that doesn't happen for it's billions of dollars that won't be going to public schools over the next decade. But yes, eventually, maybe.
I guess the other thing I'm handing to is we have lost on the politics here, right? Like we've been politically outmaneuvered, and they've got a thumping political victory. And congratulations to them. Well done. But the problems remain. And I'm all I could think during this speech last night was okay, yeah, you've won, and you've shown us all up, and you've got a thumping majority here. You have an extraordinary amount of political capital. What are you going to do with this? Are emissions going to keep going up under your government? Are house prices going to keep going up under your government? For all your talk about looking after people, caring for each other, and caring for the vulnerable people, are you going to continue to choose to keep hundreds of thousands of people living in poverty under your government? Time will tell, right? But I suppose listeners of this show, believers in the movement, people who poured everything into volunteering for the Greens candidates and the Greens movement and the Greens policies, I guess I just, don't lose faith in that, right? There is the world of politics and people winning elections.
Don't lose faith that things will get worse.
Don't lose faith in your analysis of the problems facing our society and the things that need to be done to address them.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, those things are not going to be those things. I wish this new government all the very best. I hope that an increased majority means an emboldened Labor government that does more progressive stuff. I really do. I hope that. Okay. But again, based on the history of the Labor Party and their lack of moving or any indication of a greater progressive vision in this particular election campaign, does make me skeptical of that future, I suppose. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that this is what I mean. I have hope that, like you say, as Adam says, there is a beating social democratic heart of Australia. Australians are not horrible people. Australians want a better future. I think a lot of Australians feel that that's what they voted for. I kind of, I go back and forth on accelerationist politics, but I don't really subscribe to the idea that a Dutton government would have forced us into or shocked Australia into something better. I actually think, no, we couldn't have afforded to go backwards with that and to have because Australians also look around and go, oh, everyone else thinks this, so maybe I do too. I don't think that would have been good. I think that there is hope. I think that it is fucking hard for a small challenger party movement like the Greens to take on the political establishment. And I think, honestly, we're doing a pretty good job in the circumstances. And I think we have pushed, I don't think Labor would be wiping student debt without the Greens in there. I don't think that they would be extending Medicare without the Greens. We know that they wouldn't have done a bunch of the things that they did last term without the Greens, and their incoming Labor MPs who are taking over Greens seats will be under increased pressure to be better representatives than they would have before. All of this is true. This is worth remembering, not just to pat yourself on the back, but to remember what you are doing this for.
Yeah. Now, this is not the end of our analysis of this election result. There is still plenty of things more to count. And I think it'd be fair to say that, yes, a more critical evaluation of Green strategies will surely come over the course of this show in the coming weeks. So that's fine. But again, to finish on a note of yes, a reminder of to hang on to what you believe in. The things that you believed yesterday are still true today. It's difficult, particularly after the elation of 2022, to look at these kind of results and sort of thinking about, oh fuck, is it all go to water? I don't think that's true, and the results don't actually tell that story. And again, based on my own personal experience of being out there with comrades, pouring work and love and solidarity into a movement that you believe in for a better, progressive Australian future is never a waste of time. So I think people should try and remember that too.
Here.
And yes, again, I think the amount of work and passion that you guys have, particularly across the country, but particularly in Queensland, in Greensland, should be really admired. And I, for one, am very glad that you guys are there doing your thing. And I hope everyone's doing okay today.
Greensland is now confined to boundaries of the Ryan electorate, so I am still in Greensland currently. At one point in the night when I thought, am I gonna have a fucking Labor MP? That was probably the most horrified I felt all night. But right now I still have a Greens MP. So here's to winning. Here's to Greensland. Love yous all.
That's a good story. Yes. Thank you for listening. Follow us on social media. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, this has gone on too long.
Yeah.
Thanks again. We will catch you next week, everybody, with more incredible hot takes, and the fight continues. Goodbye.
Mwah.
Serious danger to Australia.